Hello, beautiful people. Welcome or welcome back. I am Andrea B. And happy Tuesday for me. Happy day to you, whatever day it is. And today I am joining you all with two beverages, my handy dandy water and my Canada Dry ginger ale. So to cheers, I'll sip water. I've been drinking ginger ale for a little bit, so cheers. Boop. So good. So cold, and as you see, I'm outside, so I can use some cold beverages. Not too hot out here. So today's video, I want to discuss what it means to live a non-attached life. Non-attached from people, things, places, whatever you can think of, being non-attached. And the reason I think this is important is because when we are too attached to things and people, it can shift how we handle life when those things and those people are not present. And I've experienced this firsthand with many of my relationships. And for example, I think about times that I needed to constantly know what my boyfriend was doing, or if he had free time, I wanted him to spend it on me. And if I did not get that time from him, I was just so consumed with him. What is he doing? When will I see him again? When will I talk to him again? And mapping out our whole lives together. I was just so future oriented. And when he wasn't around, or if I wasn't talking with him, I wasn't able to be present in other areas with other people, on my own interests. And this is not all black and white. Of course, there are times when I was able to be present, but I'm speaking of the majority of the time. And when I say boyfriend, this isn't just with one. All of my relationships before this one I had a very unhealthy attachment to the men that I dated, and even friends. And so, but it was more heightened with the men that I dated, because I made romantic relationships everything. I made it everything. And so when that person wasn't around, if I didn't talk with them, I was just so distracted. And when I was around them, it's like I feel complete, I feel whole. And that's not fair to me. That's not a way to live. When people say you're not really living, you're existing, I think that's a good example, is that I was existing, but I was not living my life. I wasn't allowing myself to create new memories. I'm imagining memories, or I won't say memories, but I'm imagining this life in these dreams and not living them out. I'm not focusing on the relationships that I have outside of this person. And how I saw it show up with friends is that I was very black and white with friends. And I would say either we talk or we don't. There's no in between. I did not know how to operate in that gray space because I was so anxious thinking about, well, when will I hear from them again? When will I see them again? I see that they have time to do X, Y, and Z, but they don't have time for me. They're not making me a priority. And you see how it's a similar pattern that I had with friends and boyfriends. But when it came to boyfriends, I mostly chose them over everybody else. And it's unfortunate. That is unfortunate because there are times when we won't talk to people every day. We won't see them every day. And life goes on. Because I could not take a day without talking to a boyfriend without any reasoning or any heads up, freaked me out. With friends, there's a little bit more, there was a little bit more space where maybe weeks would go by and then I'd start to wonder, okay, what's going on? And even I'd notice it heighten more if I would make attempts to connect and there'd be no follow through on their end. And so the wheels are really turning in my mind where I'm thinking, okay, are they distancing themselves, or did I do something? And I'm preparing myself to not talk to them again because I want to protect myself, because my brain struggled with that unknown. Like I said, it was always, when will I talk to them again? If I will, who knows when? And so if I just tell myself, oh, they're not coming back, there's no point in wondering, that means my brain switches to, okay, well, you don't have to wonder because it's certain that they won't come back. And I don't know that. Even if all signs point to this person won't return or this person doesn't want to speak to you, things change. And that's why operating in the gray space is so important, because it leaves room for all the other colors. It's not just being black and white, where maybe the black is we're talking and the white is we're not. It doesn't have to be that. It can be we spoke nonstop for a month, and then life happens over here and now we're speaking once a month because you're going through something, I'm going through something. That's just life. And so how this relates to things is, let's say this water bottle, beautiful. When I first got it, I wanted to protect this thing. I said, I'm not gonna drop it, I don't want to scratch it, and yada yada yada. Well, guess what happened? I dropped it. It fell, at least, off of my desk, and there's a little scratch here. Can you all see that? Okay, maybe not. But the point is, it has a little scratchy scratch, and I can still use the water bottle. But when it dropped, I like to say when it dropped because I didn't drop, but I was doing something that caused it to drop, so I needed to be careful. Anyway, I I felt sad because I wanted this thing to stay the way that it was when I left the store. And because it's not that way anymore, I could have saw it as useless, as, oh my gosh, my life is over, my precious water bottle is scarred. Whatever will I do? I'm going to keep using it. But there are times when people cannot live without things. There's something they have to take everywhere, as if life depends on it. And not everything our life depends on. And there's even a fear of, what if this runs out? Think of your medicine. If you have to take medicine every day, oh, excuse me, I had the hiccups. If you're taking a medication every day and it's recommended, prescribed, like take this every day at the same time, that can create a fear of, what if I miss this day? What happens? And what if I run out? There have been shortages on medication, and even that can be scary, because when will the shortage be over? How will I get on with life outside of this? And that may be more of an extreme example, but it can be anything. It can be your phone, it can be your favorite pillow, your favorite stuffed animal, or your lucky pair of socks, where there's this attachment to it that without this, you're probably thinking, how can I go on? What will I do? I will have so many bad days and moments without those lucky socks. And even the medication topic, I had to challenge myself there, because I'm personally not taking any medication every day. But there was a time when I was encouraged to, and I had some prescribed, and I said, I had a life before this medication, and it's unfair to believe that without taking this, my life is over. And that I have to take it at the same time every day. Now, will it be helpful? Probably, because the body is used to it, and it's operating on a routine. And so that challenged me to say, you know what, I don't want to need this medicine for the rest of my life. And so I chose to stop taking it. I was not in the conditions. It was for acid reflux, and I didn't think it was helping me, honestly. So I just said, forget it. There are other things that I would like to try, and I don't think this medicine is cutting it. So I wanted to throw out what it was for, because, again, everything is different. So this is no advice. Don't do what I do. I'm not telling you to do what I do. And so if you feel led to stop medicine, seek that over with a professional, and with your doctor that prescribed it. That's not me. I'm only telling you what I did, and how freeing that felt for me, to know that I don't have to take this, especially if it's not helping. But if it's something that is helpful, and I think it's the idea of needing something just feels like dependency, which it is. I mean, if we need something, we're depending on something or someone. And I think there's a point where the goal, in my opinion, is to depend on it less, if that makes sense. And so, think of life support. Without that life support, what does a person have? And so that's what I mean by, at some point, I think the goal needs to be, all right, maybe you need this now, but what can we do over time where you can need it less? And I didn't want that to be a water bottle, a person, and any other thing, because there's so much more to my life than those things. And so my biggest encouragement for you all is to assess the attachments that you have. What are those things that you're saying you can't live without? When you don't have these things in your life, how does that affect your mood, how you make decisions, how you interact with people? And if you're noticing that there is something that you're holding on to a little too tightly, if you can release your grip a little bit, and if it makes sense to do so, again, there are some things you may have to hold tightly to. For how long, that's not up to me. Again, the non-attached life makes room for the gray space. Even if your doctor tells you you're going to need this for the rest of your life, well, let's start day by day. Do I need it today? Okay, I'll take it. Do I need it tomorrow? Take it. But if there's a day where you don't need that medicine, why take it? And because all things are possible, who am I to say it's not possible for you to not need this anymore? I don't know. That's the point of the gray space, is saying this could happen or it may not. However, life goes on whether it does or doesn't. Because if God said you have to do this thing or you'll die, your life is over, he will make it very clear what that thing is. And that's something else I had to tell myself in order to be comfortable with this topic and releasing certain attachments, because and that's what helped with me overcoming the past relationships I had, is realizing that before those people walked into my life, I was alive. I had things going for myself, and because they've walked out, that should not stop me from still living my life, doing the things that God called me to do, and creating new memories. And I believe that is the acceptance of the grieving process. And it's going to be ongoing because we're going to constantly mourn people and things. That doesn't stop. We don't reach this point of arrival where just because we lose something we were so attached to or that we cherish so much, that doesn't mean we arrive and we're perfect. No, there will constantly be a reminder. Think of withdrawal periods that people go through. There will be that reminder, there will be that urge that says, remember, you used me every day. And we went everywhere together. You took me to work, you took me to the park, you took me to the movies, you took me to church, or wherever, everywhere you went, I was there. And that urge, how you get through that urge, is what counts. Do you give in, or do you say, you know what, yes, I do remember all those times I took you everywhere. Sometimes I took you places I didn't need to take you, and nah, I won't give in to that right now. Or, you know what, I don't mind giving in, because I know if I don't, it doesn't break me. And fill in the blanks. I can think of a lot of things. Food was one. Now, yes, I know food is a necessity. Not all the doggone time. Not every second of the day. If you need to eat every second of the day, go see someone. That's not God's design for us. We have hunger cues for a reason. We have fullness cues for a reason. And so if yours are not working the way that they need to, if you are eating and it's putting you in danger, go see somebody. Whether it's food, alcohol, any type of drugs, if you are consuming more than you need to, you are likely more attached than you should be. And that is a problem. That is a huge concern. So, food was that one thing for me that I likely took it everywhere. I was known for always having food with me. it was a just in case thing. Oh, I may get hungry, so let me take this. And there were times where I would go out and I would get hungry, and then I would freak out, like, I don't have food right now. And what am I going to do? And I won't be home and for another hour or two. And again, it's the spiral, because I was so dependent on food that I did not know how to deal with the uncertainty. And because I did not handle that uncertainty well, it caused me to spiral. And so the point is, rather than spiraling, deal with that uncertainty by, one, accepting the facts, and two, exploring the options. Okay, I didn't bring food with me. Not a problem. Can I buy food? Can I share someone else's food? Can I wait till I get home? Do I want to wait? What are the options that I have here? And then move on, because life goes on. And if not having food, and I'll be honest, I still like to carry like a granola bar here and there just in case I get hungry. But the times that I was out and didn't have food, it wasn't putting me in a dangerous situation where I almost passed out. And so that's what I mean by explore those options, and learning to be okay. Because through every moment of being hungry, and I had to tell myself, again, I have to sometimes be very extreme to talk myself down. Because I said, if me having food, if my life depends on having food in this moment and I don't get it, then I just have to accept whatever God has for me in that moment. If God says, all right, you have 5 seconds to get some food before lights out, and if I don't get food in 5 seconds, then that just means lights out. Is that what I want to happen? No. I want to live a long, healthy, prosperous life. And that's all. That's all I'm saying is being real with myself like that. It helps to calm down and say, all right, you'll be fine. If you don't have food in 5 seconds, you'll be okay. Different things like that. And if it gets to a point where I'm shaking or I feel a little anxious and I feel like I may pass out, then yes, I will get some food. And usually that's happened to me a few times, and I was at home already in the process of getting food. And so that gave me some reassurance, because it's not like I was trapped on a desert and food was 500 miles away. So my point in all of this, again, is to encourage you all in knowing that there are some things you need. There's a time and place where you need something now and then later you don't. And to give yourself some credit, because there are times when you're not even focused on the things that you need. You say you need. And I can always use food as an example, because that was the biggest struggle for me. There are times when I am not thinking about food, like my next meal. I'm not thinking about past decisions with food. I'm just so focused maybe on my TV show or work or being with friends and family. And then I'll have those moments where I say, oh, I haven't been thinking about food. What is food? I'm not interested in that right now because I'm not hungry. But before, it didn't matter if I were hungry or not. I was always thinking about food. What do I want? What am I going to get at the store for long periods of time? I'm not saying don't plan for these things. I still plan meals, I still plan my grocery list. But there were times where I was just so distracted, and that's not what I want. I don't want to be distracted by food. I want to live my life knowing that, yes, food is there, and I will get to it when it's time to. That's all. And it can be anything. Apply this to yourself however you need to. Is that, and I know it's a little difficult with people because people pass on, and or maybe this is just a relationship that you don't need or want in your life. And that's why I say it goes back to mourning those experiences, mourning those people, and being in a place where you can say, this person is no longer in my life, they're no longer living, and what does that mean for you next? Doesn't mean you have to forget, doesn't mean you have to be okay with those facts, because it can be very sad, it can be very hurtful, whatever emotion you want to throw in there. And so if you're in the process of mourning, just allow yourself to mourn. And I know that's more extreme as I'm talking about death, but a less extreme example could be, as I said, if I wanted to talk with a boyfriend and I was not able to in the moment, I had to mourn that, what I wanted, and say, well, okay, they're busy, unavailable. Yes, I'm sad because I would love to talk with you, and that's not an option right now. So when I say mourn, I mean just deal with the feelings that come up in the moment. For me, it was sadness, being hurt, angry, whatever. And so take that same process and going back to, if it's a person that has passed away, mourning process. How do you feel with the fact that they're not there? Maybe this person is still alive, but you don't have that relationship with them. Well, how do you feel about that? It's still a mourning process, whatever it is we go through. And to lighten the load a little bit, sometimes I mourn food. You know, when the cake or the ice cream or the chicken wings are so good and you eat them all and you're mourning the fact that you ate it all, like, dang, I wish I still had some. This is so sad. And those are the lighter moments where I tell myself, well, if I want more, I can always get it. You know, and if it's not there, like some snacks, so you know, your favorite snacks that they've taken off of the shelf and discontinued them, another loss. Another loss. So, I know I was all over the place with examples in this video. Hope you all stay with me long enough to get the importance of living a non-attached life. And most importantly, to wrap this up, that is why being in God's presence is so grounding, because when the people are gone, when the money is gone, the food and your favorite item breaks, God remains. And it helps me, and I hope this helps you, to put your trust back in God and say, God, I'm alone. This thing that I love so much is not here. This person, how can I go on? And allowing God to be that source that fills your cup, whether the things and the people are here or not. And that makes room for more, because especially if there is a unhealthy attachment, God will likely remove it because it's getting in the way. You are so distracted that it needs to be removed so that you can focus on other things. Or if you choose that thing so much, you will lose everything else. Lucky for me, as focused as I was on the boyfriend, I was able to get through school, maintain good grades. I was able to achieve things around me, but I still made them very important. And so imagine if I lost some things that I was working on because I made one thing very important. And we have to be careful though, because that may be happening along the way. So if you can focus and assess your attachments before you start to lose things, the time is now. Like people with drugs, drug addictions, they stop showing up for work. They are not stable when they're with their friends and family, especially if those people are not engaging in drugs. And most of them are homeless because it's just about this one thing. I gotta have this one drug, and the more I have it, the less room there is for anything else. So, if you don't want that to be your outcome, this is encouragement to make room for different colors. Not just black and white. Allow gray to be present and fill that gray space with the pink and the yellow and the red and the orange and the blue and the lavender, all the things, all the colors you want. Because that's what God wants for us. That is abundance. It is God's way of saying, I'm going to sprinkle and dab some color over here to show you what's possible, to show you what I have for you, to show you that there is more waiting for you. You just got to make room, and there's some things taking up your time and your space that don't need to be there right now. Or maybe it's a little less. When I say it doesn't need to be there, it doesn't mean, again, it's not to be black and white and say it has to be this or that. Not all the time, but sometimes God is saying a little less of this. That's all. That's all I ask. So, that is it from me. I hope you all receive this well. And if you do, like, share, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification so that you get updates when I post again. Other than that, stay hydrated, take great care of yourselves, assess those attachments that you have, and until next time, see you later.